Hello, chess fans! This is Rick from Chess to Progress with number 63 in the series Viewers Games. This one is from Kevin from the USA. He's playing white in this game against Don. At the time this game was played, Kevin was 33 years old and Don was 84. There are not many sports in the world where you can have a competitive game with somebody with an age gap of 50 years. That's one of the reasons that chess is such a wonderful game. It was played on lead chess with 30 minutes per move, so it was a slow time control game. Kevin opened d4 and d5 from his opponent, both players from the USA. Knight c3, knight f6, knight f3 and knight c6. All the knights are in the game. Bishop g5 from Kevin and Don played bishop g4. We still have a symmetrical position. Completely symmetrical. Kevin played e3, but now the symmetrical position is broken with h6. Kevin decided to take on f6 instead of retreat the bishop, and Don took back with the pawn, taking back towards the center. Although taking with the other pawn also makes sense because it would free up the bishop to come out on that diagonal. Somewhere there. Kevin played bishop d3 and e5. Don pushes in the center. Kevin took, and here it makes sense to take back with the f-pawn. You get a very nice center with black, and you have straightened out your pawns. You have no doubled pawns anymore. But Don decided to take with the knight. Bishop e2, and with this move Kevin is now attacking the d5 pawn with two pieces. It's only defended by the queen. So c6 makes perfect sense in this position to protect that pawn again, but Don didn't do that. He played queen d6. He did not spot that his pawn on d5 is attacked twice. Here queen d5, queen takes d5 is the best move, but Kevin decided to take with the knight. And now black can get some compensation for the pawn. For example, he could have taken on f3 here, and if you then take back, black can castle queenside. And as compensation, for example, let's make a few moves. White plays c4, black can play c6 to kick the knight back, knight c3, and then black can play knight d3 check, and white's king will have to move, and this is good compensation for black. So that was after knight takes d5 and then bishop takes f3 to start with. But Don decided to castle queenside straight away. Also an option. Now, this knight is attacked twice, by queen and by the rook, only defended by the queen, so Kevin defends it a second time by playing c4. Queen c5 from Don. Looks good, because now this knight is pinned. It cannot play, because then the rook will take the queen. Kevin castled here, and now it becomes quite complicated. Can you win a piece with black? Can you play c6? Well, it looks you can, because the knight, as said, is pinned, but it is more complicated than that. White has a very strong move here. Knight takes e5. And if you take that piece back, then bishop takes g4 check, wins a piece, which is good for white. And if you, after knight takes e5, take on e2, then queen takes e2, f takes e5, and then this knight is no longer pinned because the queen has moved to e2. So white can play knight f6 and is slightly better. So c6 does not win a piece, and Don played bishop d6. b4 from Kevin, hitting the queen, and you have to be careful now. the best way to play here for black, and actually the only way to play, and it's not easy to find, is knight takes f3 check. And then, because it's check, you have to take that knight. Then bishop takes f3, counter-attacking white's queen. Both queens are hanging now. Then the best move for white is b takes c5. Bishop takes d1. C takes d6. And for example, bishop e2. And this is again slightly better for white. But after b4, Don did not find that variation starting with knight takes f3 check. He decided to remove his queen from the attack and played queen c6. And that's not a good move. Here Kevin played rook b1 and he commented saying, "Stockfish really does not like rook to b1. The thought was to protect against bishop takes b4. So Kevin saw that the bishop is threatening to take on b4 because the knight cannot take back because the knight is pinned, and that's why he played the rook to b1 to protect that pawn. That was his idea. But Stockfish, as Kevin Wright says, Stockfish likes knight takes e5 much more. This move instead of rook b1. Because, he says, after 3 moves, white can win a rook. Honestly, I simply did not see this combination. It seemed to make sense to me to hold off on knight takes e5 as long as possible to keep positioning. Your thoughts, he asks. Okay, well, I'll give my thoughts, but let's first look at this variation. Why is knight takes e5 so strong? It's actually winning the game for white. What happens here? Well, if you take back, then there is bishop takes g4 check and white has one material. So that's not good. So after knight takes e5 you have to take on e2. We saw a similar variation a few minutes ago. And then here the best move for white is to take the queen. Black takes white's queen. And there is that rook win that Kevin was talking about. It doesn't win the rook, it might win the exchange because after bishop h5 this knight is trapped in black's position, so black is most likely going to win that knight back. But white will come out with extra material and has a winning position. So back to Kevin's question in this position after queen c6. Kevin played rook b1. Stockfish says knight takes e5. Kevin says, well, I wanted to wait with knight takes e5 to keep positioning, as he calls it. I guess he wanted to make sure that black could not take back on e5 and straighten out his pawns. But there's a simple answer to this. If you see a move that wins tactically, then positional deliberations do not come into the equation anymore. If you can win material, and winning that material gives you a good position, then you should go for it and not look at the positional consequences of it. So in this case, knight takes e5 is the best move in the position. Don't worry about the positional aspects of it because white wins material and will have a winning position. And that's why knight takes e5 is better than rook b1. But it's not an easy variation, so I don't blame you at all for not seeing it. Back to the game. Let's get rid of all those arrows. Kevin played rook b1 to protect the b4 pawn against bishop takes b4. But what happened? Don took it anyway. He did not see that that pawn is poisoned. Kevin writes, black was nice enough to play bishop takes b4 anyway. I offered a take back, but being a good sport, black declined. This was a tipping point in the game in my opinion. Yes, it is indeed, because that just simply loses a piece. After rook takes b4, white has won a piece. He's also threatening knight e7 with a juicy fork winning the queen. And Don saw that. He played queen c5 to make sure that fork would not happen, and he covers the e7 square now with the queen. And here Kevin played knight takes e5. And by the way, I forgot to say that I think Don not accepting the take back is very good sportsmanship. I agree that take-back should not happen. If you make a move, then the move is made and you have to take it like a man or a woman and avoid and accept the consequences. Okay, back to the game. Knight takes e5 was played by Kevin. And here bishop takes e2 is the best move. And then we get queen takes e2 and black takes back on e5. White is still a piece up, but the move played in the game costs another piece. After knight takes e5, Don took back on e5 and forgot that now his bishop is hanging. Kevin took it, bishop takes g4, he's now 2 pieces up. King b8 only move, and a nice move from Kevin. Queen b3, taking this knight out of the pin and putting a lot of pressure on black's king. Very nice move, queen b3. Queen c6, protecting the b7 pawn. Knight e7, attacking the queen. And you can go with the queen to a6 to keep the b7 pawn protected, but it won't really help. Bishop f3 will come, and all white's pieces are aimed at black's king. This rook will also come into the game to join the party in the attack on black's king. In the game, Don played queen d6 instead, and that gave Kevin the possibility to checkmate the black king. Rook takes b7 check. King stepped aside, only move, and there comes another piece into the attack, bishop f3. Nice move. c6, desperate attempt from Don to keep the game going, but after knight takes c6, he played rook c8, but there was a checkmate in one move. Rook takes a7 checkmate. The game, when Don lost the second piece, their game was beyond repair, but this was a very quick checkmate by Kevin. 23 moves, and Kevin beat Don. Don had taught Kevin how to play chess, and now Kevin pays him back by beating him. Well played, Kevin, and thanks for sending me this game so I could share it with the Chess to Progress community. Very interesting game, some very complex variations in the middle game with that knight takes e5 and all sorts of complications, and you handle the complications better than your opponent, your teacher. Well done, Kevin. Hope you enjoyed the game between Kevin and Don. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up and please subscribe to the Chess to Progress channel. Please leave a comment, I will read them all and I will reply to them all. You also may want to check my Chess to Impress channel. The link is in the description box. This is Rick for Chess to Progress. Thank you for watching.